In order for Massa to accept you, in order for Massa to love you, you have to deprecate yourself if you're a black person. And this is what we see a lot of the conservatives do all the time. They have to, in order to get the acceptance and the white approval they desperately need, whether it's monetarily or otherwise, they have to deprecate themselves and lower themselves, lower their blackness, and talk down on themselves and the rest of their community for white acceptance.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Elite. We have much to discuss this evening, so thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate every single last one of you all. Thank you all so much for being here because there's some things that we have to discuss, all right? We all understand, we all know that unfortunately right now we are in a system of global white supremacy, a system that we are working tirelessly to dismantle and replace with a system of justice so the world can be a better place. This is what we do. This is what we strive for. This is what we work for. This is what we think about. This is what we act on. This is who we are as people. All right. This is who I am. This is who you are. So I want to thank you all for that. However, you have people now. You have people who do it for money. You have people who do it for just self-deprecation. They have a low self-esteem, sometimes a mix of both. Regardless of the fact, the damage is still the same. You have people out here, and I'm only going to put their picture up here one time. You have people out here like the Hodge twins and others who will literally deprecate. They will literally self-deprecate. They will lower themselves. They will speak down on themselves in the presence of a white person just so they can get white approval, just so they can let their audience know that, hey, even though I'm a black person, I have more money than you, more fame than you, whatever the case is. And a lot of times it's a grift, but a lot of times it's a psychological thing that they have to accept. I want you to know that I see myself as subservient to you, and I see you, whether it's my fame, status, whatever, all of those things can be higher, but I am subservient to you. You are the supreme person. You are the supreme race. This is what these people must do all of the time. Before we get started, we already got a shout out. Ayo, my brother Ayo, he says, for the new black media, thank you very much. B1 to you. Thank every single last one of you all. Thank you all. I appreciate you. All right. So now you already know if you guys have been here, how we get started. Before we start playing the clips and everything like that, I'm going to play the copyright disclaimer. Now, as I'm playing the copyright disclaimer, what I would appreciate from all of you all is to hit that like button, double check, make sure you're subscribed, and have your notifications on. And I'll be right back. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Right. So here's the thing. I want to play this one clip just because it's something that came across my timeline on X. So I want to play it. Everybody knows, or at least a lot of people do. A lot of people know that Michelle Obama decided not to go to Trump's inauguration. To me personally, doesn't really matter. It's not no big deal like that. I mean, who cares, honestly? She didn't decide to go to the inauguration. I mean, we pretty much all knew why she didn't go, but the conservative media blew it up out of proportion. They made it seem like it was just this unprecedented thing. It was dishonorable and all of that stuff. It really wasn't that big of a deal personally. Now, some people are calling out the hypocrisy, like, oh, you guys said when Trump didn't show up to Biden's inauguration, y'all said that was unpresidential, that was unprofessional, and all of that. But when Michelle don't show up to Trump's inauguration, y'all not saying anything. I guess you can see the hypocrisy there a little bit. However, Michelle is the first lady versus Trump being the former president. I think it's because of their positions in the government. I think it's a different standard there. I think people would hold the former president to a different standard than they would hold the first lady. So I personally didn't see her not going to Trump's inauguration as no huge news breaking deal like that personally. I don't think anybody really cared. Okay, so I mean, it's always something. Although they can't talk about how Trump is not is ultimately what it's saying is that it's hypocrisy on both sides. It's hypocrisy on both sides. Both teams play for each other. But Michelle Obama, as you guys probably know by now, Michelle Obama has a podcast with her younger brother, older brother, her brother. I don't know if it's younger or older. Michelle Obama has a podcast with her brother, and they bring on different guests and things like that to discuss various topics. In this particular podcast, Michelle was talking about her inauguration and all of the flack that she was receiving from not attending Trump's second inauguration. And you have this, and this is what I'm talking about when it comes to self-deprecation. You have this conservative comedian. He wants to call himself a comedian or whatever the case is. And he's out here cross-dressing to quote unquote make fun of Michelle. Look at this.
You know, what people don't realize from my decision to make choices at the beginning.
So this is a grown man. Now, Michelle is talking. He's not going to use any audio or anything like that. But this is a grown man, and he has cross-dressed. He's trying to mock the ears. He's got earrings. He's got a wig. It's not just a wig. He was trying to get the wig as close to what she's wearing as possible. Okay, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to self-deprecation. Okay,
of this year that suited me were met with such ridicule and criticism. Like, people couldn't believe that I was saying no for any other reason, that they had to assume that my marriage was falling apart.
Right.
You know, it's like, while I'm here really trying to own my life and intentionally practice making the choice that was right for me, and it took everything in my power to not do the thing that was right, or that was perceived as right, but do the thing that was right for me.
I'm gonna play I'm gonna play a little bit of this. I'm not gonna play too much of this. Now, this isn't me sitting up there acting like I'm defending Michelle's decision not to go or whatever the case is. Y'all know I'm not in support at all of the Democratic agenda. I'm not in support. That does not mean I'm in support of the Republican agenda. I'm only in support of the Black agenda. Michelle has said several things that on this very channel we've broken down and thoroughly disagreed with. So I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression here. But I'm talking about Terrence, and Terrence deliberately, and you don't see, my thing is, you don't see conservative white men doing this. And this is not Terrence's first time doing this either. The conservative white men, they're not made to, or they're not even encouraged to, or it's not appropriate for them to sit up there and put on a wig and mock nobody and they don't do that. Okay. When have you ever seen a conservative white man with a platform, and let's say he's talking all this pro-America stuff? When have you seen him mock? He puts on a blonde wig or something like that, and he's trying to mock Hillary Clinton. Now, mind you, they won't do this to white women. Just keep this in mind. All of this putting on a wig and this minstrel show, cross-dressing, stuff like that, that is reserved for Black women. You don't see nobody out here trying to mock Hillary Clinton. You don't see nobody out here trying to mock Kathy Hochul. You don't see nobody out here trying to mock, and when I say mock, I mean like putting on the wig and trying to resemble them with the earrings and everything like that. You don't see them trying to do that to Nancy Pelosi. You don't see them trying to do that to none of these white women out here doing that. Okay, you don't, no, and nor will you. Jill Biden, I could go on the whole thing, nor will you. All right. So this is one of the things that they have to do because they know that their white audience likes this stuff. They know that their white audience likes this stuff. So they have to, as a grown man, you have to dress as a woman for your audience and mock something, just essentially mocking yourself to a degree. And that's one of the reasons why they like it, because it's a mockery of Michelle, but it's also a mockery of himself. All right. So this is something that is self-deprecating. And I saw that just that one clip, and I'm all like, you know what? This is also self-deprecation. I'm gonna start playing some other clips, right? So by now, the Sinners movie has been out for the last couple of weeks or so. It's about to be out in theaters, I think now, or is it out now or nothing? I'm not sure. It is actually coming back soon, but it's been pretty successful so far. Shout out to Walter for the $20 super chat. I appreciate you, Walter. Thank you so very much, my brother Walter Wilborn. But you gotta have some, and most black people who saw it, a lot of black people who saw it, they love the cultural aspect of the movie. They love the deepness of the meaning. They felt like the movie was very layered and all that. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it, but the clip I'm about to play of this guy may have some spoilers in it. All right. You haven't seen it. Just mute it. Just mute it. Okay. Don't click off. Just mute it. All right. How about that? Just mute it. So look at this.
In America for the second weekend in a row. Sinners is the #1 movie in America for the second weekend in a row, and I have to tell you, it is nothing more than a piece of black victimhood propaganda. And I have to break this down for you because that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it. First of all, why is Sinners black victimhood propaganda? First of all, you have to think about how Hollywood relates to black people, and you have to think about how black people relate to Hollywood. The only way that black people in this country can get a piece of serious cinema, can get drama, can get anything that is serious, is there has to be an element of black victimhood underlying it. It has to be either set during slavery, it has to be set during Jim Crow, it has to be in the post kind of like Jim Crow South, which is where Sinners is set. It has to be one of these things in order to be a serious drama with black Americans, or it has to be a historical piece, like a Martin Luther King biopic or a Harriet Tubman biopic, et cetera, right? Like we've all seen these.
No, okay, now here's the thing. He's talking about, well, all of the movies, and we've been saying for the longest time, we don't want any more slave movies. We're done with the slave films. We're done with that. And he's talking now, he's expanded it to, okay, well, it can't be during Jim Crow because that's black, anti-black propaganda. There's not anti-black propaganda, but that's black victim propaganda or whatever the case is. But the thing is that every time in Hollywood, in mainstream Hollywood, and we've been seeing this for the last few years or so, when a black person is the main character or even one of the main characters of a film that doesn't have anything to do with slavery, doesn't have anything to do with Jim Crow, isn't a historical piece like a Malcolm X or a Martin Luther King movie, you will have a crowd of white people talking about this is woke, this is DEI, this is terrible, this is black propaganda, this is anti-white. So really, when it comes to black people in Hollywood, it's win if you do, win if you don't. If you have a good movie that doesn't have anything to do with slavery, it doesn't have anything to do with Jim Crow, it's not based off of racism, it's just based off of a serious drama, a good film, serious drama, good plot, and everything like that, but the main character is black, they'll say it's woke. They'll say it's woke. This is a woke movie. Even if not the main character, but the side character was black, oh, this is woke. She's only black because this is a woke movie. He's black because this is a woke movie. This is what Hollywood has turned into. Now, when you make a movie that's breaking records, that's a super successful film, it just happens to be during the Jim Crow South. Now it's, well, this is black propaganda. I can't believe it. So this is really the only critique, because he's seeing a lot of his members in the dominant society, or not his members, but, you know, his masters in the dominant society not liking this movie. So he has to find a way to lower the movie, all right, by saying this is like propaganda, victim propaganda or something. But when it comes to black people in Hollywood, as of right now, it's win if you do, win if you don't, because there are always going to be complaints. In my opinion, if there's always going to be complaints, just do what you want to do. Make a good movie, which is what Ryan Coogler did. Shout out to him. But let's continue.
So that's the first reason why you have something like Sinners. it checks that black victimhood propaganda box because it is set in the post Jim Crow South. Now, you have to understand as well that the movie's final scene, spoiler alert, ends with Michael B. Jordan's character assassinating about 15 Ku Klux Klan members right before he dies. This is meant to tell the audience that not only is he a victim of these evil white people, but he went out fighting, and he killed them before he ended up dying himself, right? So that is the underlying message of this movie. But this is the thing. I have dual consciousness when it comes to Hollywood and when it comes to things.
I think it's interesting that he used the word assassinating, because spoiler alert. Okay, spoiler alert. Okay. It's interesting he used the word assassinating, because that puts Michael B. Jordan's character, which in the movie was Smoke, that puts Smoke in kind of the negative light. Spoiler alert, I'm only gonna say it one more time. In the movie, you guys have seen the movie, those Klan members came back to the juke joint to assassinate all the black people. They literally, as they were getting out of the car, they said, oh yeah, we gonna kill some niggas. That's what they said they were gonna do. So for you to say that Michael B. Jordan or his character assassinated them and that puts them in a bad, no. If anything, really, this was kind of like a self-defense thing, to be honest, because the Klan people were the aggressors in that incident. They came to attack the black people at the juke joint. All right. So when you he assassinated them, it's like, okay, subtly that puts Smoke in like the light of somebody who sought out the violence, when that's not what happened. All right. But it's an interesting choice of words he used.
That I consume that comes from this system, because I know what this system is. So in the dual consciousness of watching this and knowing that it's black victimhood propaganda, because that is all that Hollywood gives black people, I actually enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very well shot. I thought it was very well acted. I thought that the direction was incredible. I thought that there was a lot of very interesting ideas in this movie. I understand why it's a hit. I understand why people are seeing this. And the final point that I will make is that this movie is now crossing over and becoming a mainstream blockbuster. This means that there are more than black people going to see this movie right now. And this movie will appeal to black people and white people for the same reason, because they cannot take a drama or anything that has dramatic elements with black people without there being some kind of underlying victimhood messaging about this. So the perpetual black victims are going to love this, and the guilty white liberals who can see black people as nothing other than victims, they're going to love this as well. So this is a movie that is going to bring all of America together. It's going to bring the black people that only want to see themselves as victims together, and it's going to bring the white people that only see black people as victims together. That's why this movie is a hit. That's why it's going to continue to be a hit. It doesn't help that it is actually quite good. But like I said, you have to have the dual consciousness to be able to see that it is just another piece of black victimhood propaganda from Hollywood.
Man, I don't know what that even, like, what does he mean? Honestly, what does that even mean? That doesn't even make, none of what he said made any sense at all. None of what he said made any sense at all. Like I was saying before, it's a win if you do, win if you don't. Now, as I was researching to get the other clips, because I was trying to get some other clips, I just stumbled upon that, and I wanted to play that. I'm all like, you know what? This is him essentially saying, because the movie is successful, it's successful because it incorporates FBA culture in there. The acting was good. The story was good and everything. People love the movie. And the fact that black people enjoy something, you always have to have, what he's really doing is a black apologist. Okay. Every time a black person enjoys something, you always have to have one of them come out and be all like, well, I didn't really like it. I didn't like it at all. And I don't know why black people like it. Every single movie. Okay. Remember, they did that originally, like with the original Black Panther film in 2018, where the movie wasn't really about racism, but you had people come out because black people enjoyed the movie. You had people come out be all like, oh man, that was a terrible movie. That was a terrible movie. Because white people just psychologically, it unsettles them to see black people happy. A lot of them. So that's why you have these self-deprecating Massa lovers who come out and be all like, Massa, I didn't like the movie either. Massa, I didn't like the movies, Massa. That's what they do. That's what they do. It's a win if you do, win if you don't. And let me get to this other super chat from Sydney. Sydney says, it's in gaming too. If we get a historical figure like Yasuki in Assassin's Creed, the whites will call it DEI and boycott it. Yasuki is a real black samurai. That's a perfect example. If you put black people in anything that's not slave related, which slave related is slavery and Jim Crow, really. If you put black people in anything else, they'll say it's DEI. We can't be the main characters in anything else. And if we are the main characters in that, it's DEI. But then when we're the main characters in a slave movie or a movie based off of Jim Crow or anything like that, oh, that's the only thing y'all can talk about. Y'all always in this victim mentality. You guys can never just accept reality and just move on and live in the present. It's a win if you do, win if you don't. Honestly, that's what it is. A win if you do, win if you don't. Now, let's get to some of the other things. The main thing I wanted to come in here and talk about. We're still dealing with, and we still have more updates, or not updates, but we're still dealing with people sitting up here being an apologist for the situation going on with Carmelo Anthony. All right. You have people out here literally apologizing for it. The people doing that, apologizing for it. I want you guys to listen to this. When I say apologizing, this is what these Massa lovers got to do. The Massa lover got to literally, when they see that the system, the racial hierarchy is kind of weak, is flimsy, is fragile, when they see an imbalance to them, an imbalance in the racial power structure, then next thing you know, the Massa lover got to be like, Massa, no, I'm sorry, Massa, I'm not going to do anything like that. Now they have to literally apologize on behalf of the rebellious black folk, just like this guy did.
I would like to apologize to the parents of all.
Listen.
On behalf of the black community, I would like to apologize to the parents of Austin Metcalf for making a hero out of the young man that killed your son.
Boy. First of all, you do not, let me be abundantly clear. You don't speak on behalf of the black community. You cannot apologize on behalf of the black community. Nobody gives you the right. You're not even really accepted. And if we're going to use, instead of having the cookout reference, we're going to have, if we can change that into the juke joint reference. You're not invited in the juke joint. No, you can't sit up there and be our representative on behalf of the black community. I would like to apologize. No, dude, no. No, you're not going to apologize for us. You're not our spokespeople. And this is one of the reasons why we've been able to advance the movement in such a short amount of time, is because we've been circling the wagons and we've been clearing out all of the filth. Okay. A lot of the filth we've been clearing out. A lot of that has been done through delineation. A lot of that we've been doing through checking people's paperwork and checking people's lineage. And that's been able to isolate a lot of the people who shouldn't be in. And we've been pushing them out. All right. The tethers, we've been pushing them out. You know, we've also been checking people's backgrounds and stuff like that, saying you might be a conservative shill, you might be a Democrat shill, you might just be a Sambo Massa lover altogether. And we've been pushing everybody who's not supposed to be in the juke joint. We've been pushing them out. And this is what's caused us to garner such success at such small length of time, because we've been using this method really for the first time ever. We've never really in Black and FBA history have used this method so intense and so consistent. And because we're doing it at such an intense level and such a consistent level, we've been able to advance the movement, advance reparations, advance all Black empowerment in general, tremendously. All right. So this guy does not get to speak for us. This guy doesn't get to speak for us. We don't even want to be around folk like him. He's not speaking for us. We don't want to be around nobody like him. While he's sitting up there, I would like to apologize for making Austin a hero, or Carmelo a hero. No, we're not making anybody in this situation a hero. You guys are the ones who, if y'all want to talk about people making people false heroes, we can talk about people making people false heroes. Remember, okay, where was the white person, even the white liberal, even the so-called white apologist that they like to hate on, the quote-unquote white apologist, who literally, that's a code word for you're white but you're not on code. The white apologist is a code word for nigga lover. So you know, okay, they have to update it. They can't call you a nigga lover no more. So what they'll call you is a white apologist. That's the code word for it. Let me ask you guys this question. Where was the white apologist who came out and apologized on behalf of the white community for George Zimmerman or the Hispanic? Because they'd be like, he's not white, even though he's a white Hispanic. Where was the Hispanics who did that? Where was the white apologist who apologized to the Black community on behalf of Daniel Penny? I didn't see no white apologists be apologize on behalf, or anybody who's not Black apologize to the Black community on behalf of Daniel Penny. I mean, the way they completely embarrassed the legal system with the Ryan, I said, what's his name? Kyle. Sorry, I said Ryan. Kyle Rittenhouse. The Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Ain't nobody apologize for that. They don't sit up here and apologize. They don't apologize. And they, the people I just listed, they were posted up as heroes. They got interviews and deals and books and all of that stuff. Remember, George Zimmerman out here signing Skittles like he's a celebrity. This man is signing Skittles for killing a teenager. He sold his weapon, the weapon he used to murder a teenager. He sold that weapon for $250,000. Like he's a hero. It got sold on auction. Okay. These people, they made these people heroes. They said these people are patriots. These people should be looked up to. These people are lifesavers. That's what they said. That's what they said these people are. So when you want to talk about how we treating Carmelo and what we doing with Carmelo, we're not sitting up there acting like Austin should have happened to Austin. We're just saying, hey, if we're going to look at this situation, we're not going to be biased when it comes to self-defense. No, we're not going to be biased when it comes to self-defense anymore. We're not saying he's a hero or not a hero, even though when you do look at Carmelo's past, he is a hero. We're not saying he's a hero for this incident, but when we look at his past and we find out he was saving drowning babies and stuff like that, that is a heroic act. A heroic act that none of these people that they said were heroes could ever provide. None of these people who they said were heroes can they show have done anything heroic, but Carmelo, who they're saying is a thug, has actually done heroic things. So let's just put that in its proper context. But we're going to continue.
I apologize that there are so few fathers around and so few male figures around to teach the Black community about emotional discipline, about what's right from wrong, about emotional regulation, about not making a hero out of a thug and a criminal. I apologize on behalf of the Black community because they are the ones that are raising money for your son's killer. They are the ones that are funding this new lavish lifestyle that your son's killer is living. I apologize on behalf of the Black community because they are so confused about, again, what's right and what's wrong, that in some weird, twisted sense of racial solidarity, they would celebrate the young man that killed your child in cold blood. I apologize on behalf of the Black community because you don't deserve to see this. You deserve to be grieving your child. You deserve to be remembering your child. You deserve to be able to share stories about what an amazing human being and young man he was. But instead, you're subject to online mobs that support the killer of your child. You are subject to people that are raising money to support the killer of your child. You are subjected to people in the Black community that are making excuses for the killer of your child and making your child seem that he is somehow at fault for being stabbed to death. So for what you are seeing on social media, for what you will continue to see for the next few months, I apologize to you on behalf of the Black community.
Okay. Well, listen, and he plays a little bit more. Listen, y'all, is he, and I don't even need to play the rest of that clip. I really don't. Was Austin at fault for being stabbed to death? I don't think anybody's saying he's at fault. It is the way, notice the way he words it. Oh, a lot of people are saying that Austin is at fault for being stabbed to death. No, nobody is saying that, and you're taking this, you're bastardizing the situation, and you're taking it way out of context. Nobody said that. What we are saying is that Austin is at fault. Austin is at fault for approaching someone and physically trying to remove that person from a tent, even though he doesn't have any authority to do that at all. We are saying that Austin is at fault for putting his hands on somebody, and he doesn't have authority to do that. We are saying he is at fault for harassing and assaulting somebody. He is at fault for that. His brother also admitted that that's what he did. Okay? So he is at fault for his actions. Yes, he is at fault for his actions. Now, do we want the situation? No. Do we want the situation? No, we don't want the situation. It was an unfortunate reality that led to the situation. But if we are going to be very honest, Austin instigated a situation verbally, and then he escalated the situation physically. And his escalation of the situation ultimately resulted in his life ending. That's unfortunate. However, we aren't going to, because these are the same people who will say Black people take no accountability for anything, right? They say we don't take accountability. So now it's time for a little bit of accountability. We have to say, regardless of the result, regardless of the effect, regardless of the fact that he's not here, because they do it to us, we're just going to keep the same energy now. Let's not move the goalposts. Regardless, we are going to have to keep the same energy and have this accountability conversation that you guys don't want to have, because let's look at Austin's father now. And Austin's father and his parental situation, they got a lot of weird stuff going on. If we're going to look back at people's fathers, and we're going to see Austin really didn't have the best dad, did he? No. And is that why he was able to do that without any accountability? I mean, if it was horrible, here's what they would say. Here's what they would say if Austin was Black. Oh, it's horrible what happened, but we got to have accountability now. We have to have accountability. So that's all we saying. That's all we saying. That's all we saying. Oh, it's terrible what happened to Austin. It really is. And I've said that several times. Every time, it's terrible, and I'm not celebrating it. I don't think anybody here is celebrating it. But when are we going to have a conversation of white people and accountability? When are we going to have that conversation? But this man, he doesn't stop. He goes on because he gotta show he's a Massa lover. He definitely has to show he's a Massa lover. So he goes on to diss Carmelo even more.
Anthony, and how he came from a good family and his family had money, whatever. So everybody's talking about Carmelo Anthony and how he came from a good family and his family had money or whatever. What does that say about the culture that he came from a good family and a good home and still did what he did, was still running around like a hood rat, was still running around like a thug, was still running around like a criminal? Look at the children of these Hollywood celebrities. Look at T.
Okay, he was raised by a good family. He was raised by a good family, right? And he still was running around like a thug, running around like a hood rat, running around like a criminal. What crime? Okay. Are y'all gonna keep posting that same picture with that fake BB gun? Is having a BB gun a crime now? Because if that's the case, Austin had real guns. So is Austin more of a criminal? Because when Austin and his brother posted multiple pictures with them with weapons, nobody called them a criminal. But the BB gun makes Carmelo a criminal. Okay, if you said, okay, he's running around like a criminal, right? Okay, all right, and we shouldn't be celebrating that. Can somebody show me Carmelo's criminal record? And this is the thing that's bothering them the most, because nobody can. Nobody can show you Carmelo's criminal record. Nobody can say Carmelo had a criminal record of anything. Nobody can say that because he didn't. He doesn't have a criminal record. Everybody knows he doesn't have a criminal record. Everybody knows this was an honor student. He was squeaky clean. He had 2 jobs. He saved a baby from drowning. He was going on to college with different scholarships. He was trying to figure out how he was going to go about the rest of his life. He's squeaky clean. But yet, despite the fact that he's squeaky clean, because he is black, BLACK, he is now an automatic thug. And everything he does when he leaves the house is thug-like activity. Everything. He can't name one single criminal activity that Carmelo has engaged in, okay, anything prior to this incident where Carmelo's ever been charged, ever been arrested, ever been any real serious trouble, okay? I'm not talking about he skipped class one time. I'm not talking about he cheated on a math test one time. I'm talking about real serious trouble. Nobody can name that. And you know they can't, because if they could, they would constantly be bringing that up. That's the nonstop thing that they would be saying. So nobody can. But yet he's black, so he's a thug, and he engages in thug activity. That's what they say. That's what they say. Shout out to, hold on, let me shout out to Latribia for the Cash App. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you. Thank you. And we're gonna get to, I see some more of the super chats. We're gonna get to the super chats in just a second.
T.I.'s kids. So those kids have been born and raised in money. Those kids have been born and raised in money their entire lives. They have home and still did what he did, was still running around like a hood rat, was still running around like a thug, was still running around like a criminal. Look at the children of these Hollywood celebrities. Look at T.I.'s kids. So those kids have been born and raised in money. Those kids have been born and raised in money their entire lives. They have known nothing but money, but yet still his son runs around like a thug and a hood rat. I believe that his son was in and out of jail. So what does it say about the culture when when we do raise children in wealth, when we do raise children in 2-family households, when we do raise children in gated communities and all of these things that Carmelo Anthony apparently had, they still end up running around carrying a knife. They still end up running around interacting in thug and hood culture. They still run around trying to act like they're about that life when they haven't even been raised in that life. And that life is foreign to them. What does that say about the culture? What it tells me about the culture is that the culture is rotten. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you have a 2-parent home. It doesn't matter if you have all that money. If you are still engaging in that ratchet, degenerate, toxic culture, that is who you are going to end up being.
Okay. Okay. You know what's funny? You know what's funny about this? You're talking about, well, even though you came from money and even though you came from this and you still wound up doing all these criminalistic things, you still wound up doing all these terrible, terrible things, right? That's what he said. It doesn't matter that you were raised in a good parent household and you were raised with money and you had all these opportunities and all of this stuff. It doesn't matter, right? Okay. what's interesting about the whole opportunity and all that stuff, nobody says this stuff when white people get in trouble. Nobody says this stuff when white celebrities get in trouble. I just want to keep the same energy there, okay? Because if black people, it's a cultural issue anytime a black person gets arrested, whether if they're a black celebrity or not. So he's talking about T.I. son, which I'm not sure if T.I. son has gotten arrested, but they're talking about T.I. son getting arrested. Okay, well, if we're going to talk about T.I. son getting arrested, and that's fair, and I think that he should be held accountable. He should also be held accountable to the same degree that we hold, I don't know, maybe a Justin Bieber accountable. I mean, what culture does Justin Bieber come from? Justin Bieber, we is well known that Justin Bieber is in and out of jail, right? And Justin Bieber, no, there's never been no cancellation of him or anything like that. We can name another. We're gonna have to hold them accountable. They're about the same age, doing the same stuff, right? But nobody says that Justin Bieber's culture is the issue. What about Britney Spears? Nobody says that it's Britney Spears' culture. It's the culture that's the problem. Oh no, it's not the culture that's the problem. Is she accidentally got into some type of drug issue or something like that, right? What about Charlie Sheen? That's another good one. Charlie Sheen, money, all that stuff. Alec Baldwin, money. I'm going to give you a better one. What about Robert Downey Jr.? What about Robert Downey Jr., who we know now as Iron Man and soon to be Doctor Doom? All one of the people, the foundations of the MCU. What about Robert Downey Jr.? Was it Robert Downey Jr.'s culture that was the problem? Notice these people who always do the self-deprecate. Oh, black culture is trash. We're all so trash. We're all so terrible. It's the culture that's the problem. It's nothing else but that. Okay, well, let's keep that same energy when white people get in trouble. That's another one. That's another good one. Hunter Biden. All the opportunities he had. All the opportunities Hunter Biden had. His dad is a super politician and all of that stuff, and he's still in trouble left and right. Is it a culture issue? Then does it make it then a culture issue when they get in trouble? I can name you several people. There was a guy, who's that guy from Transformers? Shia LaBeouf has gotten in several trouble. That's one of the reasons why he fell off. Who was that other guy who played the Flash, or in the last Flash movie? Ezra Miller. Are these cultural issues when they get in trouble? Are these cultural issues? I just need to know that if this is a cultural issue. Let me ask you guys a question. I just need to ask you guys a question. Since we're talking about cultural issues, and if you getting arrested and charged, or you portraying yourself as a thug, if it's a cultural issue, is it a cultural issue when Eminem gets arrested? Was it a cultural issue when Eminem was arrested for like domestic violence and drugs and all that, with stuff he's confessed to? Is it a culture? Does Eminem represent white culture? Because if a black rapper gets in trouble, then it's rap culture. It's black culture. And the black rapper who gets in trouble is a reflection of black culture. They say that all the time with King Von. They say that all the time with Little Durk and Chief Keef and Future and all of that. When it's a black rapper and they get into any trouble, it's a reflection of the entirety of the black community, and we should all collectively do the walk of shame. We should all have our heads down low, and we should all feel ashamed of what this black rapper has been doing. Okay, so Eminem must be a representative of white culture, right? So shouldn't all white people be doing the walk of shame because Eminem has a rap sheet, a long rap sheet? Somebody brings up Jeffrey Epstein. I ain't seen a white apologist. Now he's out here apologizing on behalf of black people. Where's the white apologist for Jeffrey Epstein or Harvey Weinstein? I ain't seen a white apologist on that. Or Hulk Hogan. I ain't seen a white apologist on that. When are we in the black community, when are we going to receive our apologies for their degenerate culture that's negatively affected us in the rest of society? If we're going to keep this energy, we gotta have it both ways. We gotta spread it. Okay, it can't just be one way. Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, that's another one. Come on, that's another one. When are we going to get that? Let me get to some of the super chats real quick. Okay. Maya says, we didn't ask him to be anybody's spokesperson. Thank you. We didn't ask him that, and he's not allowed to. We are not at all giving him any permission to be a spokesperson for black people on behalf of us at all. Okay. Thank you, Maya. From downtown says, happy belated birthday, my brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Patrick Key says, what about Hunter? Oh, yeah, I saw that. What about Hunter Biden? What about Hunter Biden? To be honest, what about Joe Biden? What about Joe Biden? Just because Joe Biden been doing some stuff he ain't supposed to be doing. We're going to be honest. Bill Clinton been doing some stuff he ain't supposed to be doing. Now, come on now. Do they represent? They were the president. Do they represent white culture? Okay. Hell, Alonda says Donald Trump. Now, come on now. Now, does Donald Trump represent white culture with the way he acts and the way he carries himself? Does he represent white culture? You know, sitting up there damn near beefing with everybody he can. Okay. Does he represent that? Anybody who's not super loyal and worships him damn near he dislikes, does he represent that? Is that a representation of white culture? That's what I want to know. Okay. January, that's another good point. The January 6 people who stormed the Capitol because they were upset that the election didn't go their way. Do they represent white? What is it about white culture and impatience? What is it about white culture and acting out on your anger? What is it about white culture and entitlement? Can we have the accountability conversation with the white community about entitlement and their culture and their culture? I think it's probably something to do with their dads abusing their moms in their face. Y'all know that's where the narrative of wife beater came from. You know, the undershirt, because in the movies, especially during like the 1940s, 1950s, around that time when they would make the abusive drunk husband, he would be in the house wearing a wife beater, which is why the shirt is referred to often as wife beaters, because that's one of the things that white men would do, you know? So if they weren't burning women to the stake, they were sitting up there beating them up. Okay. Now, they don't want to say that's not white culture. No, it's not white culture. That's just a man who's bad. And it doesn't reflect the community. No, it doesn't reflect the community. Only when we do things that are not appropriate does it reflect the entire community. Hillary Clinton with the emails and all of that stuff, that's another good one. Does she reflect white culture? Do these people reflect white culture? Ayo, he says, keep going. Oh, yeah, we going to keep on them. Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks, Afro, for this great content. Thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate you. I appreciate every single last one of y'all. Thank you. Well, yes, Elvis. That's another good one. Elvis Presley. Now, they worship Elvis Presley. How many movies do they have of Elvis? And in any of the movies, let me ask you guys this question. In any of the movies, do they paint Elvis Presley as some predator? In any of these movies, do they paint Elvis Presley as anything less than a great music artist? Do they? Do they? In one of his last movies, they damn near painted Elvis Presley as some type of hero activist. Did you guys know that? He had a movie in, I think, like 2022 or 3, I think. He had a recent movie that just came out. Never do they paint Elvis Presley as anything other than a saint of God who was a music artist, despite the fact that he was a predator who stole black music. He was the exact opposite of what they paint him as, but they never do. They never show him like that. Is that a reflection of white culture? Sorry about that, y'all. Is that a reflection of white culture? These groomers out here Let's see who else. Jerry Lee Lewis. Come on, we can go down the list. If we want to talk about the president, we can talk about the actual presidents who got statues of them, George Washington and all that. We can talk about them if we want to. We can talk about all of the corruption left and right. Are these people a reflection of white culture? What about the guy who I forgot his name, but he was the shooter at the Las Vegas. It wasn't a casino, at the Las Vegas hotel where he shot up that the music event. I forgot his name. Is that a reflection of white culture? Are these things a reflection of white culture here? Are these people right here a reflection of white culture? Is this a reflection of white culture? Do they need to have a cultural conversation? Do you guys know when they want to talk about the thugs and the gangs and all of this stuff, they want to talk about the thugs and the gangs and stuff like that. Do you guys, I want you guys to guess, what do you think the oldest gang, like real gang, was in this country? I submit to you, the first real gang in this country was the Klan. The Klan originated right after slavery, back in the time where black people weren't even allowed to be pretty much around each other. Black people weren't allowed to damn near talk to each other legally. We weren't allowed to be in a crowd of 3 or more people. These were the first people who organized under one agenda to do domestic terrorist acts towards another group of people based off of race. They had rankings, they had meetings, they had organizations, okay? They had people funding them. They were out committing crimes and all of this stuff. This, I would submit to you, is the first real American gang. Now, nobody words it like that, of course, because when they say gangs, they want you to have the automatic association with black people. The automatic. Now, when they say that, I would say this is that. And then a lot of them were also slave catchers. These were former slave catchers who became the police. And we all know slave catchers, which was an actual position, a legal position to be a slave catcher, where you would be paid by the state and all that to be slave catchers, to go catch the slaves who would run away. And then when there were no need for slave catchers, then bam, here comes the Klan. Let me ask y'all this. Is this white culture? Since we're going to have the conversation about culture, since we're having a conversation about culture, is this white culture? I mean, they made a whole movie, right? There was flyers and recruitments and all of that stuff. When are we going to have the conversation about white culture and the degeneracy and the violence of white culture? We can literally be here all day. And I want you guys to understand, this is not a thing of the past. They still exist. Of course, nowadays, they don't walk around with big Klan robes as often as they used to, but they still exist. They just exist, and they rename themselves. Now they call themselves the Proud Boys or the Boogaloo Boys or whatever other boys they want to call themselves, or the Blue Boys, which would be the police, a lot of them. Which is why there was that January 6th, a lot of them. It's time for us to have the conversation, the real conversation about white culture. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's time for us to do that. Now, I want to play this other clip, right? But before I play that, I'm going to play this clip from Nick Fuentes, just so if you guys don't know about Nick Fuentes, I saw this clip and I thought this clip was interesting because we're talking about white culture, and Nick Fuentes actually, he pretty much sums it up for us. Listen to this.
White person ever was a white.
Hold on. Listen to this. I'm going to take it back.
Yeah, every great white person ever was a white supremacist. Newsflash. Every great man of history. You think Julius Caesar wasn't a white supremacist? Do you think that George Washington wasn't a white supremacist? Do you think that the masters of the Renaissance You think they weren't white supremacists? And people say, well, they were Enlightenment liberals. You think they envisioned living in harmony and equality with these other people? I don't think so. And I'm not saying I'm a white supremacist, but I don't care if they call me one.
Okay. Yeah, see, this is white culture for you. That is. First off, to say I'm not saying I'm a white supremacist. Well, that's a kind of interesting statement after you just said that every great white person ever was a white supremacist. Every great white person ever was a white supremacist. Now, I'm not saying I'm a white supremacist. I'm just saying that every great person ever was a white supremacist. Okay. Yeah, that is you saying you're a white supremacist. And I want you to understand this is why this goes to show how they view greatness. They view greatness very differently than how we view greatness. When we talk about great black people, who do we talk about? We talk about people who are activists who fought for justice and fought for equality and fought for righteousness. We talk about black people who are inventors, who invented great things that saved and bettered the lives of millions and billions, really, at this point, of people. We talk about people who are genius doctors and genius scientists and genius poets and writers and things like that. All right. That's who, when we talk about greatness, that's who we talk about. We talk about great music artists who made beautiful works of music art. Okay. That a lot of people get empowerment and upliftment from. That when we talk about greatness, that's who we're talking about. We're talking about people who did great productive things that people around them that benefited mainly their people, but other people and just in general just benefited from globally. People whose work has benefited the entire world. When we say greatness and we talk about great people, this is what we talk about. This is exactly what we talk about and who we talk about. Okay? When we talk about great people, we don't have to talk about people who, yeah, he's a great man, but as long as you kind of like excuse the, the massacre and all of that stuff, you would have to dismiss massacres when you talk about great people with them. No, we talk about people who've made the world a better place. When they talk about great people, notice what they talk about. Notice what to them is their definition of greatness. I think that clip was very telling. Their definition of quote unquote greatness is somebody who prioritizes white supremacy. That is greatness to them. That is what makes them an icon. And Nick, even though Nick is the one who said it out loud, Nick is not the only one who thinks this way at all. We got statues of people who have violated women, who violated children, who've owned slaves. And to the average person in the dominant society, that is a great man. Mount Rushmore, you can look at that as a perfect example. That's a great man. Okay. You still have statues in some places, cities in some places named after Confederate generals. Because to them, these are great men. Even though they're technically traitors of America, they're great men. Why are they great? What is the aspect of them and their character and their action that makes them great? White supremacy. Yeah, it's white supremacy. Because according to Nick and the rest of the people, white supremacy is greatness. And you are great if you are a white supremacist. And you are great if you promote that. And this is why, as he said, all great white men were white supremacists. I can guarantee you he's not nearly the only one who believes this. Now, he's the one who will go out here and fall on his sword and say that, because they're not supposed to say that. That's not really the code for them to say it publicly, but a lot of them believe that. Name a white person who they don't do that with. Name somebody who they don't do that with. Like when we talk about great people, okay, because we can go with great people who are activists, who fought on behalf of, black people. We can also talk about great just great people who were inventors, right? And we promote them and we, give them their recognition, give them their flowers. Notice that in the dominant society, they don't really do that. Notice that they don't really we have murals, and we take time to give respect and pay homage to our great people. Notice the dominant society doesn't do that to nobody who's not a white supremacist. Christopher Columbus, they'll celebrate him and have statues of him. They don't have a statue of somebody who did something productive to society. They don't promote and celebrate people who've done productive things to society, not nearly to the degree that they do to somebody who's done something destructive to society. They enjoy destruction. This is what they view as greatness. What he said when we're talking about culture, what he said perfectly encapsulates everything what we were saying about. That is what he just said. That is a perfect example of white culture. That's a perfect example of that. Because it makes you have to think, when do they celebrate anybody who doesn't do anything like that? Anybody who doesn't have genocide in their background, violation of people's bodies in their background, or children, women. When do they not celebrate those people? When do they celebrate somebody who's not like that? Yeah, they'll give like a small little shout out to like a Thomas Edison or whatever the case is. And then a lot of those people stole inventions. If we're going to be honest, a lot of the celebrations of the white inventors are thieves. But okay, even still, Henry Ford, a lot of that stuff is stolen, if we're going to be honest with you. But even still, nobody that they celebrate contributes anything that is productive to society. They celebrate and love destruction because in their culture, that is greatness. That is greatness. As long as the whites are on top, that is greatness. It was very telling what he said. Very telling. Let me get to some of the other super chats real quick before we continue. Shout out to Black Americans Come First for the 50. You guys been appreciated. UAO. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And then Cal Polk says, we love to see rural folks shout it out more than we are. That's city FBAs seem to forget we exist sometimes. We fight battles out here that go unseen. Yeah, shout out to the South, man. Shout out. I mean, that is true. That is true. A lot of times the city gets a lot more attention because it is the city. People who live in bigger cities or whatever the case is, Chicago, New York, and Atlanta, just generates a lot more attention. But a lot of folk in the South who be putting in some good work, and that's very true. So thank you. Shout out to Patrick again, says, basically being a colonizer is a badge of honor in his eyes. That's pretty much what he said. That is what he said. Okay. Not only, let me say that one more time, right? Let me just take it back and to the very beginning. Not only does he say there are great white men who are also white supremacists, he said all great white men were white supremacists. All of them. Okay? He's not saying that there were some who were. He is saying this is what makes you a great man. Listen.
Yeah, every great white person ever was a white supremacist. Newsflash.
Every great white person ever was a white supremacist. This is what he believes. This is what he believes. So this is just the idea and the thought process of Nick Fuentes, right? Just got to play that. Then he makes this other video, and it has something to do with Carmelo to a degree. So let's listen to it.
Every great man of his.
Hold on. Where's the clip? Okay, here it is.
Black people. I don't want to live around black people. I just don't. It would be irresponsible if I had a wife and kids to live near black people. It just would be. And that's not to say that every black person is violent. It's not to say that every black person is the same way.
First off, I just want to say, now, you know how that other dude was trying to speak on behalf of the black community? We don't allow him to do it. But for this one single time, I'm going to speak on behalf of the black community. I'm going to speak on behalf of the black community for this one time, if you guys will let me. On behalf of the black community, Nick Fuentes, we don't want you either. On behalf of the black, if I may, on behalf of the black community, you're not welcome. We don't want you. He says he doesn't want to be around black people. We don't want to be around you, Nick. We don't want to be around Nick Fuentes or none of his ilk. And I don't speak on behalf of the black community very often. You know, it's a lot of us. But I feel like at this one moment, I need to speak on behalf of the black community to say, you're not invited. We don't want to be around you. We are not at all bothered by the fact that you don't want to be around. I swear to God, we ain't. I just got to say that. All right. I think he thinks he's bothering somebody, but he's really not.
But we watch the news. We read the papers. When you drive downtown in Chicago, you know who you got to look out for and worry about when you're thinking about whether you're going to get carjacked. When
I tell you they are obsessed with Chicago, it is just, it's something else. It is something else. They are so obsessed with Chicago.
Worried about catching a stray bullet, when you're worried about who's going to pull up on the side of the road and literally shove a rifle in your face and steal your iPhone or shoot you point blank, execution style, in Lincoln Park. We know who's doing it. I don't want to live near them. I don't want to be near them. They make me nervous. That's a survival instinct. And the way this story unfolded, it's sort of interesting. Apparently, this white student.
Okay, y'all have such survival instincts, right? Where are y'all survival instincts when it comes to like the school shooters who are your people? The people that you say are so great and so wonderful and so peaceful. Where are your instincts, survival instincts when it comes to that? Because we're not seeing that rate slow down or stop or anything like. Where is that survival instinct? Because to be very honest, I think it's less dangerous for your car to get stolen and which your car can get recovered than somebody with like an assault rifle or something goes into the school with a massacre mindset. If you ask me, if you said two different positions, okay, I think that the latter is far worse. But I'm going to let him go, and then I'm going to have to say what I have to say a little bit later.
This Austin Metcalf confronted a friend.
Listen to how he words it.
And the way this story unfolded, it's sort of interesting. Apparently, this white student, this Austin Metcalf, confronted a friend of the killer, presumably black also, and said something like, hey, you're sitting in the wrong spot. You're in my spot, something like this. And that's when the black guy jumped in and stabbed him to death.
Okay. Everybody watching here knows damn well that's not what happened. Everybody here knows damn well that's not what happened. Now, there is a video, multiple videos, right, that we haven't seen as of yet. So we don't know all of the details of what happened. But first off, to say he confronted a friend, no, he confronted Carmelo. The interaction was with Carmelo, not some other person. And it wasn't, excuse me, sir, but you happen to be in my seat. He was not in anybody's seat. There were bleachers. It wasn't no assigned seat. He wasn't in the wrong spot. He wasn't in somebody else's seat or next to somebody else's thing. And then he just politely went up like, do you know you're in the wrong seat? And then Carmelo reached in his bag and then shanked. That's not what happened. We know that's not what happened because his twin brother, who was right there, said that's not what happened. By all accounts, by the accounts of the witnesses, by the accounts of the police, by the accounts of his own twin brother, that is not what happened. But this is the story and the narrative that Nick has to tell in order for Carmelo to be bad. You got to completely skip forward from the beginning. First off, you got to remix the beginning and then jump all the way to the end. You can't talk about anything that happened, any of the important context that happened in the case whatsoever. You just got to make it up. You literally got to make the story up. Okay. Look, and what happened to Super Chat? Hold on. Did it go away? It might have went away. Oh, okay. There it is. Shout out to Hurricane. He says, I smell another lawsuit. I mean, I think it is. I mean, this is an active investigation. That's a good point. This is an active investigation, and you're deliberately spreading misinformation about the situation. And a lot of them be all like, well, it assumes, I think, because they're spreading misinformation. So what they like to do is they like to act like they don't know that they're spreading misinformation. If you know about the situation, you know that what you're saying is not true, but yet that's what he's saying.
Unfortunately, we just don't know. When you're on the subway.
Now listen to this. Now he's going to, because what we've been doing is comparing the reaction to Carmelo, and we've been comparing that to Daniel Penny. Now listen to what he says now.
Don't know. When you're on the subway, when you're driving in your car, when you're in the city streets, you don't know whether the black person in proximity to you is one of the good ones or one of the ones who is going to summon an unbelievable, I mean, literally for people like us, an unthinkable level of spontaneous brutality.
For people like us, he means white people who don't do that.
Senseless and merciless violence in an instant. We don't know. There's ambiguity. You're sitting on a subway. You look across. You see someone acting strange or aggressive. Is this someone who is going to pull out a knife and in 2 seconds slit my throat and kill me? Or is this just someone who's having a bad day? We don't know. I'm not willing to risk my life to find out. It's not worth it to me.
Okay. Now, what's interesting about that, right? I might as well get it off, right? What's interesting about that point is he's saying that we don't know if a person who's on the subway, because he's referring to the situation with Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely, he could just be some dangerous psychopath who was seconds away from just exploding and causing this great harm and killing everybody. So you're trying to use it in a way that justifies Daniel Penny. You're trying to find it. But what's difficult about that situation, is that you guys cannot simultaneously defend Daniel Penny and have this racial double standard for Carmelo without exposing the fact that it is an obvious racial double standard. Because in the situation, notice how he has to say, oh, he could have had a knife, he could have Jordan Neely did not confront anybody. Jordan Neely didn't say anything to anybody. Nobody on the train can say that Jordan Neely attacked them. Nobody can who was on the train can even say that Jordan Neely was talking to them. Jordan Neely was talking to himself. Jordan Neely wasn't talking to anybody. He wasn't threatening anybody. He wasn't in anybody's face. He didn't put his hands on anybody. And then Daniel Penny jumped up from behind him and strangled him to death. All right. And the whole narrative is that because you can't say Jordan Neely was attacking anybody. So now what they're saying is, well, he was a danger to everybody on the train. Who's Jordan Neely attacking? Oh, everybody. I guess. I mean, why not? Everybody on the train. He was a menacing threat to everybody on the train. Okay, all right. And he got to walk with that. So if just him standing there talking, breaking the social contract, which is what they said he broke, if him breaking the social contract warranted him being snuck up on and somebody strangling him to death, then does Austin physically putting his hands on someone who's much smaller than him and threatening this person with harm, because when you put your hands on somebody and trying to move them around, picking them up, that is a threat. Does that not also warrant a response of self-defense? It's my question. And they keep having this clearly double standard because you can't justify Daniel Penny and then condemn Carmelo and not say that this is an obviously racist double standard. But he doesn't want to be around black people, right? Nobody's tripping on that. Nobody's tripping. But of course, you're going to have self-deprecating Negroes out here trying to agree. Out here agreeing. Listen to this.
Is an absolute
Yeah, of course. We can't talk about self-deprecating Negroes, the self-deprecating Massa lovers, without talking about one of the main Massa lovers right here, Tatum. It goes by Officer Tatum, of course. Officer Tatum has to, anytime it's a chance to talk negative about black folk, about black culture, he can't miss his opportunity, man. He can't miss his opportunity. He's like, oh, Massa gonna love this. Oh, he can't miss this opportunity. So this self-deprecating Massa lover, he gets on here and he agrees with Nick. All right.
For another video, Nick Fuentes is an absolute racist in my personal opinion. But I have to say, I cannot.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. It was smart for him to give that little disclaimer. He gave that disclaimer because he already knows Nick Fuentes has a history of getting people's YouTube channels shut down. So that's why he gave that little disclaimer like, oh, he's a racist. I don't agree with everything he says. YouTube, please don't shut me down now. Please don't shut me down. Yeah, that's why he gave that disclaimer. Okay, he's trying to protect his channel.
I disagree with a lot of what he said in this video. And many people of the melanin will be mad at me, but I'm going to give you two examples, many of them that I could give you, but I'm going to give you two examples of current incidents where not only is people like Nick Fuentes, which I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, and I think he's a racist, but average, everyday black folks that are just like me feel very similar, that we sick of it. We sick of the complaining. We sick of every time you turn around, you want a handout. Every time you turn around, it's the white man's fault. Every time we turn around, we're advocating for criminals in the black community, making us look stupid. And then we couldn't care less when other brothers or lives are being taken by other black people.
Okay. Anytime they say a handout, what they're talking about is reparations. Okay. That's the code word for reparations. We want a handout. Black people are not asking for handouts. Most of the people who receive handouts are actually white folk by numbers. Now, these are the people who love the statistics. They love the per capita. They love the rates and the statistics and all of the data and the math and all of that stuff when it can be used to make black people look bad. When it pushes the narrative that black people and black culture is bad, it's negative. Oh, they love the numbers. Numbers don't lie. We got to go with the numbers. It's what they say, facts over feelings, right? That's what they like to say. It's facts over feelings. We got to go with the numbers. Now, when the numbers don't make black people look bad, when they actually make white people look bad, well, let's not. Numbers aren't everything, you know, you got to have context in its situations and stuff like that. And we don't know all of the details. So let's just not go off the raw numbers, right? Okay. So that's the standard thing. So when it's black, it can just be about the blatant numbers, even though y'all screw the numbers, y'all spew the numbers in a way that makes the situation look different and it's way out of context, but it's about the numbers. But when we talk about most welfare recipients, most governmental program recipients are white people, well, that's, we got to talk about the circumstances and everything like that. Okay. So it's not the numbers then, it's the circumstances. Okay. Then he talks about we glorify thugs. That's another thing that they keep saying. We got to stop glorifying thugs. Okay. Like who? Like who? Who? What thugs? Anytime they say that, let me take this off the thing. Anytime they say we glorify thugs and criminals in the community, like who? What criminality do we condone and glorify in the community? To be honest, because when they're saying that, okay, this is really a straw man argument. It's like a mix of gaslighting and straw man, because when us as the collective, when we advocate for somebody, we're advocating for somebody that has been done wrong. We're advocating for somebody who's been racially railroaded. Now, we advocate against racial railroading collectively. I'm talking about the community. Collectively, we do. Right? That's, and they say, okay, you're advocating for criminals and thugs and stuff like that. No. If somebody does a crime and they're, and they've been caught and all of the evidence is right there, and they had their rights and all that stuff just presented, and they were actually guilty, then black people, we just kind of let the system do its thing. But what we don't do, and this is the whole we advocate for thugs, no. What we do is we advocate for righteous justice. And that righteous justice in a law and the way the justice system should work evenly and fairly and righteously across the board. Because what you guys like to do is y'all like to disproportionately sentence, attack, target, persecute black people. And when we say, okay, this is not justice, oh, y'all advocating for criminals, then y'all advocating for criminals. No, because y'all not going to take that energy to the white community or even non-black communities. So this is what we advocate for, not the criminality itself. We're not advocating for criminality at all. What we advocate for is we advocate for justice in the justice system. Very different. Very different. The people that we have advocated for, we've advocated for people that has been who's faced pretty much racial railroading. Okay, that's who we advocate for. When we see somebody who's all like, okay, even if that person was wrong, we know for a fact that there's a bit of racism in either the over sentencing, the overlooking of important details and context and evidence. That's what we're not going to sit up here and ignore. Even if the person was wrong, we're not going to sit up here and ignore racism in the quote unquote justice system. And because we don't blatantly ignore racism in the justice system, then we're advocating for thugs. No, we're not going to do that, because y'all advocating for thugs all the time. Just if y'all like them, y'all advocate for thugs and people who commit crimes all the time. They were the ones saying that damn near the January 6 people should be exonerated. Should be exonerated and praised as heroes and all of that. They were saying that people who broke the law, ain't these criminals, ain't these thugs? But when it comes to them, and all of the people and all of the conservatives advocated for them, all of the ones with the platforms advocated for them, were they advocating for thugs? Were they advocating for criminals? Were they advocating for criminality and lawlessness? No, it's not lawlessness. It's done by a white person. No. They do stuff and they celebrate criminality and lawlessness all of the time. They make movies about it. They make TV shows about it. A lot of their artists, a lot of their actors, a lot of their actresses, they've done that stuff. A lot of their politicians, they've done that stuff. A lot of their business people, they've done that stuff. And they get defended left and right. And it's never they're advocating for criminality. But when we speak against racism that still exists and is still very prevalent in the quote unquote justice system, we're advocating for criminality. So when they say stuff like that, we're just not going to let them. I'm just not going to let them get away with that. We're just not going to let them get away with it. But he still got more to say.
We literally have the highest obesity rate in the country. We have the highest abortion rate in the country, highest criminality rate in the country. We go to prison more than anybody else. We fight cops more than anybody else. I mean,
that's not true. That's not true. White people fight cops far more in a crazy disproportionate rate than anybody else. That's just a blatant lie. Okay. Highest obesity rate. What does that have to do with criminality? Okay. I don't think we're not out here praising obesity. However, it's not against the law. That's not a crime to be overweight. It's just not. No matter how much you dislike it, it's not a crime to be overweight. Okay. No matter how much you dislike it. All right. We're locked up, but yeah, that don't mean it's our fault because we're the most locked up in the country. That's exactly what we're talking about. We don't have the highest crime rate in the country, yet we are the most incarcerated in the country. That right there shows you and proves to you that there is racism within the quote unquote justice system. He really just debunked himself with that statement right there. He really did.
All of the things that are happening in the black community that make us good black people look bad, we sick of it too.
He said, us good black people look bad. Us good black people. That's a Massa. I'm not like them, Massa. Massa, I'm a good. I'm a good Negro, Massa. I don't even like them like that, man. I don't want nothing to do with them. That's this white, that's a black apologist, a self-deprecating, us good black. I ain't like none of them blacks over there, Massa. I love you, Massa. Okay. Us good blacks.
Don't just paint the picture that, oh, the white racists are saying it. No, you better take an inventory. Because I don't think it's just racist white people that are feeling like this. Just the average person is sick of the division. We're sick of when a person is clearly guilty of a crime, that all of a sudden it's the white man's fault. All of a sudden they're not going to get justice. Oh, you get a black man who's a multimillionaire. He's still saying, oh, the white man did this. The white man fought this. Oh, slavery. I'm sick of watching movies that.
So, and this is very telling as well too. When a black person who's a multimillionaire and he's still talking about racism, first off, shout out to black people who are successful and they still talk about racism. Okay. Because most black people understand that when it comes to success, you're in different circles, you're around different people, you have different things going on. And they understand that talking about racism and the system of white supremacy and how that needs to change, they understand that that closes the door on a lot of things and makes you a target. So most successful black people don't do it. And if they do it, they're very tiptoeish about it. So shout out to the people who are successful, who are not tiptoeish about it. Because you being rich does not mean racism does not exist or that you are not a victim of racism. We have rich people during the times of antebellum slavery. We have rich black people during that time of antebellum slavery. Does that not mean that racism doesn't exist because one or two black people are rich? Because name a time in this country where there were not black people who are doing well. There's always been black people, some black people, a small percentage in comparison to the collective that have been doing well. But that does not mean that the system of racial hierarchy is not very strong and prevalent in this community, in this society, in this country. But if you have money, then it's a thing of, okay, you can live better than the rest. But the reason why you have money, one of the main reasons why you have money, is so you can be the shield and you can be a veil that we can hide racism behind, because your money is supposed to create and perpetuate the illusion that we live in a race blind society now. So they'll give the Lil Waynes and stuff. Remember what Lil Wayne said? I don't see no racism. I'm rich as hell. They'll give people like him millions of dollars worth of opportunity so he can get out there and say, I'm black and I'm rich and I don't see no racism. That's what they do.
that come out, and all of them are slave movies. Do you guys forget it? I'm sick of the fact that people that don't know black people, may not know black history, are only getting introduced to struggle. Black people have so much success, or have had so much success in America, have so many incredible success stories, have done so many wonderful things. When it comes to in the medical field, when it comes to innovation, you name it, black people have done a tremendous amount of stuff in this country and should be patted on the back for it. But yet, we don't hear about none of these people. We only hear about the thugs and the people who cry racism every time something happens. For another video.
Yeah, we do hear about these people. And we hear about these people, and we talk about these people all the time, all of the amazing things that we do. Brandon Tatum doesn't talk about that. Notice that they only bring up the accomplishments and the greatness of our culture and our history in this country. They only bring that stuff up when they want to talk about it in a way that we don't talk about it. They only bring that up when they want to use that to spew the narrative that we never bring that up. We bring up black inventors all of the time, black accomplishments all of the time, not on just this channel, but just in our communities and our average conversations all of the time. But the only time he recognizes us having a conversation is when the conversation is about a racial incident, because he don't bring it up. He don't bring that up. He don't bring up the greatness of foundational Black American culture or the greatness of what we've contributed to the society or the world in general. He doesn't bring that up, and he won't bring that up because Massa lovers don't want to upset the Massa. And when you talk about the greatness of Black people and the accomplishments of Black people, that will upset Massa, and he's not going to do that. He's only going to mention that to say that we don't mention that to make us look bad. You see how the reverse psychology? So he'll bring up greatness of Black people, and notice how they always bring up greatness of Black people as if it's a distant thing from what we're doing now. They'll bring up Black greatness and Black empowerment and Black excellence in a way that separates that from what we're doing today. So they'll bring up the Dr. Kings and the Rosa Parks and all of that stuff. They really don't talk about like Malcolm X or Black Panthers. They really try to stay away from the more rebellious side of it, but they'll bring that stuff up here and there. They'll bring up the Dr. King here and there. They won't say nothing about reparations though. Nah, they ain't gonna say nothing about that though. But they will bring up the I Had a Dream and the Montgomery bus boycott and all of that stuff. But notice how they do it in a way that separates that energy from what we're doing now. They do it in a way that separates that almost like it's two different cultures, two different peoples. They always separate Black excellence as something very distant from what we're doing right now. So when we talk about a racial issue, they are like, oh my God, why have we fallen so far from our greatness? We've fallen. We used to be so great back in the 60s and 70s. Oh my God, look at what happened to our culture. They always trying to separate us from greatness, our own greatness. No, all of that stuff, all of our history is one big history. It's all one big culture. We have not changed from we're not this different people from Dr. King or even before that. We're not different people from the times of Nat Turner. We're not different people from the times of Harriet Tubman. We're not different people from the times of Rosa Parks, from Sojourner Truth, from Malcolm X, from the Black Panthers. This is all one culture, all one ethnic group, all one people. It's just a different time. But we're not different people. We're all the same people. And every time they bring up greatness, they try to separate it because it makes Massa upset. If you talk about the greatness of FBA culture in the present time, it makes Massa pissed off. They get a little uneased when you talk about it, even in the past. But if you talk about it from the past tense and make it seem like it's something separate from what we're doing now, then they kind of like, okay, all right. Okay. So even in a way of talking about our greatness, he tries to please Massa. But boy, oh boy, speaking of Massa lovers, you ain't got nobody who's right out here beating these two brothers or these two individuals.
What you was pretty
right
much
Damn Hodge twins out here. They said if there's a trophy for cooning, we coming for it. If there's a trophy for the Sambo twins, we coming forward, and ain't no competition. Ain't none. Ain't no competition. So they invited Nick Fuentes up there so he can talk about the clip that we just played you guys about not wanting to live around black people.
So
I just played the clip, and now they're doing a dialogue afterwards. They're doing a dialogue afterwards. Actually, before we get into that, let me get to the super chats real quick. Marcus says they love John Gotti, Whitney Bligger, Lucky. How do you pronounce that name? Lucky Luciano, Bonnie and Clyde. That's a good one. That's a good one. They praise, and that's not against white culture or anything like that. That's not praising thug life. That's not doing none of that stuff. But they damn near worship those people. They don't speak of Bonnie and Clyde as anything in a negative sense at all. They don't speak of the criminality that their people do in the negative. Notice that. They speak of it like it's cool. It's a vigilante thing. It's respectable. It's admirable. They speak on their criminality as something admirable. All right. So this is the message to all of those black people. And I can't stand when I hear it. That's a good point. I can't stand when I hear a black person be all like, we do gotta stop killing each other. We do be having this black crime stuff, and I just don't. How are they gonna respect us if we can't respect ourselves? I swear to God, that irritates. That's really one of the main reasons I started the YouTube channel in the first place. Is because I saw a lot of that stuff going on. And that's what made me make my first video, which led to this right here. I swear to God, I cannot stand when folk be doing that. Well, we do be doing crimes now. We do gotta pull our pants up though. We do be shooting each other over nothing. We be buying Jordans and stealing Jordans and selling Jordans, and we don't be investing our money in stocks and bonds. And us, oh my God, I damn near have a migraine right now just thinking about it. Oh my God. Yet these people will praise Bonnie and Clyde and Al Capone and all of that stuff, and you don't see none of them doing that. God, that's a good point. Hold on, there was another super chat. There was another one from Shaq. Says Muhammad Ali became champion of their world, and they still refuse to make him a burger. That's a good point. Money is nothing in the face of white supremacy. Oh, yeah. That's a really good point. He was a world heavyweight champion. More famous, more money, more notoriety than all of these people, and they still would not serve him a burger. They wouldn't even make him a damn burger because he's black. So all it is, well, if you pull yourselves up and you work really hard and you just do everything the right way and everything is going to be great. And this is a race blind society. Y'all just got to act right. No, they don't care about your status and your money and none of that stuff. Money means nothing to them. A lot of people be all like, it's based off of money. No, it's based off of racial power. That's what white supremacy is. Race power. Power of their race. It's a racial hierarchy. Now, their strength in their racial hierarchy is money, is their economy, is the fact that they can economically oppress and subjugate people, but that's not the brain, okay? The muscle and the brain are not the same thing, okay? The brain is racial power. That's what makes everything go. The muscle would be the money, all right? But we need to not be confused with the muscle in the brain because they're not the same thing. That was a really good point. Let's continue.
So what you was pretty much trying to explain to everybody, you're talking about urban black neighborhoods. I don't want to live in an urban black neighborhood.
Yeah,
right. I don't want to.
Black people that become rich and famous, they don't want to live there neither.
Yeah.
But it's a problem when you say it.
Yes, right, exactly.
Nobody wants.
No, it's not about okay. And a lot of people are like, well, when black people get money, they move out of a black neighborhood. No, it's not a black neighborhood. No, it's just a poor neighborhood. There are black neighborhoods where most of the people are black. A lot of money. Have you guys been to some of these neighborhoods where damn near everybody around in the neighborhood is black? And everybody got great credit scores. Everybody got 2 garages in their house. The house is beautiful. The yards are beautiful. The neighborhood is beautiful. It's a black neighborhood. No, there's a difference between a black neighborhood and a poor neighborhood. But what they try to do is they try to make the black and poor synonymous with each other. And they'll take the worst of the poor neighborhoods who happen to have an increase in violence and criminality, and they'll say, well, that's a black neighborhood. No, that's not a black neighborhood. That is a neighborhood where black people live. That's a poor neighborhood where black people live in. Now, if you want to talk about a wealthy or rich, even a middle class neighborhood that black people live in, you'll see a night and day difference. That's because that's a poor neighborhood, and poor neighborhoods tend to operate differently than neighborhoods that are not poor. But you don't see them having that same standard when it comes to trailer parks, or when they be doing all of that meth and amphetamine and all of that, the drugs and stuff like that they do. They don't say, well, when a white person get money, he move out of a white neighborhood. They don't say a white neighborhood. They say a poor neighborhood. Oh, when a neighborhood is bad, if it's mostly white, it's a poor neighborhood. It's a poor neighborhood when it's white. But if it's a poor neighborhood that black people move in, it's a black neighborhood. So the neighborhood is bad. If it's white and it's bad, it's because of the economics. But if it's black and it's bad, it's because of the culture. Okay? So that's the difference. So they're not moving out of a black neighborhood, they're moving out of a poor neighborhood, which is unfortunately filled with black people. Okay, the same way when a white person gets rich and famous, they move out of their poor white neighborhood and move into a richer neighborhood. There's not a single white person who's famous today that lives in the same neighborhood, the same poor neighborhood they grew up in. They don't. None of them do. None of them do that. But nobody says you moved out of a white neighborhood. They'll say you moved out of a poor neighborhood. And that's good for you to move out of a poor neighborhood. So no, poor neighborhoods happen to have an increase in criminality across all racial lines. It's just that when a poor neighborhood that happens to be black as well, it's a black thing. All right. So let's just put that in its proper perspective.
To live in the hood.
Nobody.
The
And those
poor
things
people-
happen in the hood to
Yeah.
black people all the time.
Yeah, poor people who live in the hood, they don't want to live there, but they have no options. They don't have no means to get out. So
They stuck.
I don't know. I remember I was in the Marine Corps. I lived in San Diego. I was like 19, 20, and I lived in a black neighborhood. I came out because I would leave to go to work at like 4 a.m. There's a bullet hole in the side of my Geo Metro.
Yeah.
Had a lime green Geo Metro. That's how I learned how to drive a stick.
Yeah.
And it had a bullet hole in the side of it.
Yeah.
I get in the car, I turn around, I go up to the stop sign, which is maybe about 100 feet away, so I can get on the freeway. There's a prostitute right there. And she looked at me like this, and then she said, I was like, she must have just got done sucking somebody off. And I lived in black neighborhood.
Okay. I'm not going to say he's lying. I'm just going to ask the question. Right? You were in the Marine Corps, and that is the type of neighborhood that you were living in San Diego? Don't people in the Marine Corps, because you got like different benefits and all of that stuff, don't y'all live in different types of neighborhoods? So you mean to tell me, because I've known, now I haven't been in the Marine, so I just don't know, but it just is interesting because I've never heard of anybody who is actively in the military, in the Marine Corps, the Navy, Air Force, anything like that, actively living in one of those types of neighborhoods where you got prostitutes just roaming the streets and bullet holes in the car and stuff. Like, that's the lowest of the low type of neighborhood for somebody who happens to be living in the Marine Corps, an active member of the Marine Corps. It's just never heard of that before. That's very interesting. That's very interesting, don't you think? I think that's a little interesting. Sounds to me like you might be adding a couple of details that aren't really true. I wonder which details those are.
And I was like, when I was growing up, I said, man, when I get the money, I'm going to go live in the white neighborhood.
That's the thing. Black people don't want to live in black neighborhoods, but it's only probably when white people say it, though.
Right. Well, and here's what I always say. The problem is not black people's blackness, which is the issue. You know, if you guys move next door, it wouldn't be a problem, because I know you guys are going to be gangbanging or whatever. But
hey, let me push back on it. I wouldn't. If I was you, I wouldn't trust me. Some things you just can't deny. I mean, we still got that gene.
And see, that's self-deprecation. Okay, because Nick, who just, I mean, earlier in the live stream admitted he's a white supremacist. He admitted he's a white supremacist, and you got this guy who's sitting up there like, oh, well, you know, you guys are the good blacks. You guys are the good blacks. And then him just to go above and beyond to please Massa. I don't know what it is when Nick Fuentes gets on the thing, when he's on the thing with Myron Gaines, when he's on the thing with these dudes, they just get into their submission mode. So it is so pathetic. It really is. They just want to submit and please him so much. They deprecate themselves so much. He literally just said, even though Nick said, I would trust you guys to live in the neighborhood, he says, oh no, Massa, I wouldn't even trust myself. I wouldn't trust myself at all. If it was, we do got bad genes now. I'm a Negro still. You just did that to lower yourself to please him so he could laugh. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to self-deprecation. These people, to please their white massa, these massa-loving Negroes, to please them so much, they will, even if their massa isn't doing it, they will deliberately lower their value and their humanity to talk about your genes as if it's something criminalistic. Like you have some criminalistic genes. He's saying, my genes, I got bad genes, massa. To talk about your genes, your black genes, as criminalistic or negative genes to appease this white supremacist is the most self-deprecating thing I can think of. I couldn't even think, not just you and not your culture, you literally deprecated on your genetics as a black person. And they'd be like, oh, it's a joke. No, it's not no joke. It ain't no joke. He did that deliberately because he's a massive lover. That is just pathetic. That is just pathetic. I can't say anything else but that. I'm damn near at a loss of words.
Well, if I just saw you, I wouldn't trust that. But the problem is that, unfortunately, a stereotype, which is based in reality, is that when you live in a black neighborhood, you're going to get this set of problems. You're going to get violence. You're going to get mayhem, chaos. And it's not even just that. It's just rudeness, people being inconsiderate. And if people associated with black people with being friendly, being kind, being peaceful, no one would have an issue. People say, oh, great, black people moving in the neighborhood. This is awesome. Property value's going to go up. You know?
That's not what's going to happen.
No.
Look at that. I mean, and they just sitting up there cheesing and laughing. First off, these two laugh all the damn time. They laugh all the time. I mean, they always cracking up like they Joker's hyenas or something like that. They laugh about everything. And the whole thing that Nick is talking about of, oh, well, you know, if black people would just be better, and that's their thing. Well, if black people would just be better, if black people would just, white people don't have a problem with your blackness. It's just your behavior that's the issue. It's your behavior that's the issue. No, that's not the issue. You guys hate the sight of black people. Earlier in this live stream, I played for you, and I wanted to play this clip to give you the context of how Nick really thinks. He said that every great white person is a white supremacist. All of them are all great white people are white supremacists. That's what he said. Every great white person in history is a white supremacist. So that's where his mind really is. Now he's getting up here and he's saying, well, no, I don't have anything against black people. It's just your behavior. No, it's the race that's your issue. It's the race of the people that is Nick's problem, not the quote unquote behavior of the people. All right. Now he'll get up there and say, well, if only you guys would just pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. That's not what he believes. That's not what he believes. I just showed you guys what he really believes. They are mixed. I think they do look mixed. I think they are mixed. I think their mom is white, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe that their mom is like maybe like a white Hispanic or something, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not, I think so. Their mom is white. She might be a white Hispanic or a white woman.
That's the issue. And so, I said that, and Jason Whitlock, he's super Christian, as am I. And he said, well, this is an attempt to incite racial hatred between white and black people, to divide up the races with this, with this incendiary rhetoric. And I said, look, here's the problem. You can reconcile white and black people with Christianity. But in my opinion, that happens second. What has to happen first is law and order. Unfortunately, you have this cycle in America where you have very good laws, safety, you have police are active enforcing the law. And then you get the activists that come in and say, oh, there's too many black people and there's too much police brutality. So people say, oh, all right, we're going to ease up. Mass incarceration is a problem. Police brutality is a problem. We're going to let them go. Then the violence gets out of control. Then you get, the crack epidemic. Then you get, the 80s, 90s. People go, oh, it's out of control.
Oh, that's interesting. Notice how he has to lie to push that narrative. Because the mass incarceration and all of this stuff that was going on, that happened, quote unquote, as a result of the crack epidemic. The way he's telling the story is that wasn't going on, and everything was fine when they were locking black people up. In order to have what he's saying is, in order to have a peaceful and productive, humane, civilized society, you gotta lock black folk up. That's what he's really saying. If you lock black folk up, and if the police when they say police are active, what they mean is police can get away with abuse without any punishment, without any ridicule, without any consequence. Because when they say police are active, police have always been active. Even during the whole defund the police, there's not been a city that's actually defunded the police, that said, you know what, we're going to take state money away from the police. Police only get more money. They only get more money. The Democrats don't want to defund the police. No, the Republicans don't want to defund the police. No politician wants to defund the police. The police haven't been defunded. They're not out here. This narrative of, oh, the police can't do anything. No, that means that if the police abuse their power, there is consequences for it. To them, that translates of police can't do anything. And why that translates that to them is because Nick Fuentes feels like white supremacy is great, which also means abuse, subjugation, and oppression of other people is also great. According to him, those were his words, not mine. Then when you talk about, oh, well, the crack epidemic, if you start letting them go, then you'll have the crack epidemic. You mean the same crack epidemic that the government put in the community? Are we talking about a different crack epidemic? We're talking about the crack epidemic that your people put in our community and then locked us up for it, but wouldn't lock up your people for doing it. Because if you want to talk about mass incarceration, Nick, I think that that's fair. Let's talk about the mass incarceration of all of these meth heads. Let's talk about the mass incarceration of all of these people out here overdosing and selling and doing and dealing fentanyl right now. Let's talk about all of that, which is a much larger and more dangerous, severe epidemic than the crack epidemic. So if we want to talk about the meth epidemic and the consequences and accountability and locking them up and throwing away the key, I'm game for that conversation. I'm game for that conversation if we want to talk about that. But let's continue. Let's continue.
Need the crime bill. We need the cops back on the street. We need stop and frisk. So then it's good for 20 more years. Some people say police are racist. We got to get rid of the cops.
I think that was a good law they passed.
It
Stop and
is.
frisk, it is. To get criminals off the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Look at him. I think that's a good law they passed. I think stop and frisk was a good law they passed. I love stop and frisk. Okay. All right, sure.
this is the cycle. It's like this amnesia where it's that classic meme, good times create weak men create bad times, sort of like good crime laws create good times. Good times make people think the crime laws are racist. And then,
there you go.
And they sit up there as he's dissing their own people. I want you to understand, if a white supremacist, and they're laughing, which is crazy, and this is the most self-deprecating thing where they're having a conversation, they're laughing more than Nick is laughing. And the crazy part about that is, if a white supremacist came and just murdered both of them, Nick Fuentes would be on the side of the white supremacist. And they know that. That's the sad part, is that they know that. I want you guys to understand, when it comes to the Massa lovers, they know their place. They know it. They love Massa. They know that Massa doesn't love them like that. They have to tell themselves that. They have to tell themselves that, yeah, Massa loves me like that. Yeah, to somewhat justify it and to soothe their conscience. But they know, if a damn Daniel Penny strangled them on the subway, that Nick Fuentes would be on the side of Daniel Penny. They know that. But they love Massa so much that it's still okay with them. It's still okay.
the cycle repeats.
Right.
So, so what I'm saying is, enforce the laws. And by the way, the biggest beneficiary would be the black people themselves. It's like you said. Who's hurt by this? Occasionally it's white people. But the vast majority of people that are killed are black people.
Right,
the people that live in poverty are the black people. It's those neighborhoods that can't have a Walmart because of all the shoplifting. So you enforce the laws. Unfortunately, there's going to be disproportionate, representation. There's going to be more blacks in jail. But you got to arrest every lawbreaker. And then once you get the worst of the worst off the streets, the worst predators, opportunists, then you can reconcile the people with Christianity. But, if you want to evangelize to these people in Chicago, be my guest. But I don't think you're going to get through. When you see these videos, unfortunately, a lot of them are just lost. And,
they made a whole show around that. First 48, that's a documentary of the culture of black folks.
First 48 is a documentary of the culture of black folk. Okay. It's not at all the culture of black people. So when they have white people on the show and they have non-black people on the show, what is that? Is that a documentary also of their culture? Oh, it's only a culture thing if it's black. If it's a show that catches cops, if a show where cops are catching non-black people, then it's just crime, and these are just bad people who operate individually as lone wolves, and it's not a reflection or a reality or a showcase that needs to talk about the culture whatsoever. It's not a reflection of their culture at all to any degree. But when it's black people who are in an interrogation room, then it's black culture. That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay.
Have you seen that?
No.
You haven't seen the first 48?
No.
It's on
that show made me racist.
It's like it's the first 48 hours. They just track the point where somebody's killed and the first 48 hours of the investigation. Primarily, you see black people killing black people. But there are some white people.
Yeah, like 1 out of every 100.
Yep.
Okay. All right, then. The first 48 does disproportionately show black folk. All right. Okay. I can give that to them. And because we just about keeping the same energy here. We just about keeping that. I'm not even going to debunk that. Let's say that is a reflection of black culture. Let's say It's now the number, that crazy number. He said 1 out of 100. Okay, all right, fine. So with that energy, okay, with that narrative, fine. Are we also going to say, because we got to keep the same energy now, right? We have to keep the same energy. So now, if that's a reflection of Black culture, we're going to have to say that, remember the show To Catch a Predator? Who remembers the show To Catch a Predator? Where you would have grown men in their 40s and 50s and all of that stuff, and they would think that they are talking to like 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds on the phone, and then they would be led into a house, and then you'd have some dude, what was his name? I forgot the dude's name. He would come out there and he'd be all like, why were you here to meet a 13-year-old little boy, sir? Oh, I just wanted to do, we were just friends and everything like that. And then they would have a conversation and be like, I'm sorry, I'll never do this again. And then they'd leave, and then the police would tackle them. I used to watch that show. I didn't even know what it was about when I was watching it. I didn't know, because they would never confess. Oh, Chris Hansen, that's his name, Chris Hansen, right? So you guys have seen the show. Were most of the people there not white? Is this not, with that logic, if the first 48, I'm just saying with the logic, right? If the first 48 is a reflection of Black culture, then To Catch a Predator is a reflection of white culture, right? We got to keep that energy. We got to keep that energy, okay? Because most of them, they were going there. Most of the people who were featured on the first 40, the To Catch the Predator show, and then I think they had like another, kind of like spinoff. They renamed it or something like that. They had another spinoff, and the show was named something different, but it was really the same premise. The show went the same way. Is that not a reflection of their culture, of white culture? Okay, if the 48 is fine, then To Catch the Predator, it also is a reflection of white culture. And with that being said, we got to compare apples to apples. To me, it's a more degenerate culture if you guys are out here looking for 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and you go into their house because you think the parents aren't home. That's far more degenerate than somebody who might just be a part of a gang or have a gang beef or something like that, and they shoot somebody. And I'm not condoning that. But if we're gonna compare apples to apples now, come on, we got to do it. This is the whole you going to meet children and do stuff with children. That's far more degenerate. That's beyond degenerate. That's worlds more degenerate than somebody having some type of gang rivalry. Oh no. And we got other shows. My grandma used to watch this show called Snapped. It's when they got like crime channels and all they shows like crime shows. There was this show called Snapped, right? And the show, it was based off of real situations where people will be normal, live normal lives and things like that. And then next thing you know, they would come home and they would just lose their minds and drown all their kids in the bathtub. You know what I'm saying? They murder their spouse or whatever the case is. They'll drown all their kids. They'll write a note and run away, or they'll off themselves. And it would be a thing, and they would just it's not one time. It was so many cases, men doing it, women doing it as well too. It would be so many cases. You can make an entire series off of cases of people in their society, in their community, just going insane. Okay, and just getting a chainsaw out the garage and just going at everybody in the family. It would be so many cases of that. Is that not also a reflection of white culture? Because if the first 48 is a reflection of Black culture, then Snapped, that would have to be a reflection of their culture, right? Come on now. Because if we're gonna have a conversation about accountability, I'm game. I want to have that conversation. I'm ready to have that conversation. We just gonna have that conversation about everybody's accountability in everybody's culture. Okay. A lot of people naming a lot of other shows. I got to look into a lot of these other shows. They got ones kidnappers. I think smugglers, I think was one of the names of it, or something like that. They got a lot of different come on now. But let's not do that with the first 48. Let's not do that with the first 48, because y'all not going to want to keep that same energy when we talk about to catch a predator. Y'all not going to want to do that. And we can go, not only do they have series, they also have different like mini specials. They also have different documentaries. How many documentaries do we know of especially foundational Black American serial killers? Any famous FBA serial killers that got like several documentaries and stuff like that? No. Live adaptations and stuff like that? I can't really think of none. But how many do we have of Ted Bundy? How many do we have of Ted Bundy? How many do we have of Jeffrey Epstein? How many do we have of what was that one dude who would wear like the clown outfit? I forgot his name. How many I forgot the name of the guy, and he was like this sadistic clown. It's real life. And it happened around the same time of Jeffrey Epstein. I forgot his name, but they make Netflix specials and documentaries and all of that stuff off of that. What's his name? Gracie, right? Mason. I mean, John Gracie. Okay. Don't they have different documentaries and stuff like that off John Gracie? You don't have a Black John Gracie. And if you did, we wouldn't be promoting him. If you did, we wouldn't be sitting up there celebrating him, having movies and specials and stuff like that, glamorizing him. Do you guys know that Jeffrey Epstein, the cannibal, he would get fan mail? When they talk about us and how we promote degeneracy and how we promote thug life and how we promote that stuff, a actual racist cannibal was getting fan mail, and he would talk about it. He would get women who would send naked pictures of themselves to Jeffrey Epstein, the same they did with Ted Bundy. The media would portray them as these charming, handsome men. And these dudes was ugly as hell. But that's not what the media would do. Charles Mason, they would do that too. They would always portray white serial killers. Notice that how the media does that, the left and the white. Notice how the media does that. The media portrays them as these incredibly charming, sophisticated, intelligent, evil geniuses. Notice how they do that. Oh my, and they do that. I've seen that a lot with Ted Bundy, because most of his victims were women. A lot. And they'd be all like, oh my God, I mean, he was just so handsome. He was so handsome. Women would just fall in love with him. They did that a lot with Charles Mason. Oh my God, Charles Mason, he was so charming. He was so handsome. He was so genius. People would just be infatuated with him. And no wonder they joined this sadistic cult and all that stuff. But I mean, we could talk about that later, but let's just talk about how handsome and charming he was. They do that all the time. You want to talk about praising criminality? We can't hold a candle to what they do. We can't hold a candle to what they do. Okay? You got a woman. There was this woman, and I always forget her name. I hate the fact that I forget her name. It was a woman who was this was back during the time of slavery, where she would cut up like different limbs of slaves, and she would like stitch them together and like put different body. It was this real sick thing. They did one there was this show, American Horror Story, I think the name of the show was, right? And they actually featured her in an episode, and that was based off a real life story, real life woman. I forgot the name, but they have that stuff and they glamorize that stuff. That stuff is cool. They make it like almost sexy to a degree. Notice how even in modern media, they got the show out called You on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's the show called You, of this white male. I saw a little bit of it, but it starts off this white male who's stalking this woman. Okay. And he goes around and he's like killing people to get with her. He's a serial killer and he kills people to get with her. Right. And now I think the woman changes where he falls in love with one woman or another woman or whatever the case is. But in the show, they portray him as somebody who's incredibly intelligent and super charming, and he got a good normal relationship with a lot of people. And it's almost like they humanize. Notice they humanize this person who's clearly a stalking serial killer. There was another show. What's the name of that show? It was a famous show too. Dexter. I think I watched the first few episodes of it. I don't know like where the show goes, but the show is about a white dude who works in law enforcement, but he's a serial killer. But the twist of the show is that he's a serial killer and he has people in his like basement or something like that, or like a dungeon or a storage room, and they'll be alive and he'll be like chopping their bodies up, but these people are bad. So it kind of makes it like justified. The show kind of justifies this serial killer. And I'm like, that's a very interesting thing to do. And they humanize him and the women like him too. He's charming and he got this he's charming and everybody around him loves him and he's intelligent and all that stuff. Notice how they do that. But that's not glamorizing criminality. It's not a glamorization of criminality. It's not even a justification of criminality when it's done by a member of the dominant society. Oh, it's just a show. It's just a movie. It's just art. Okay. Oh, people just like sometimes they like the taboo things. You know, it's horror. It's fine. You shouldn't look into it. It's damn sure not a reflection of the culture. Somebody bring up Hannibal Lecter. That's another one. Is that a reflection of white culture? No, it's not a reflection of white culture at all. Okay. There was another one. Famous serial killers. Never a reflection of white culture. But when it comes to us, they'll find the most unfavorable of black people and be all like, that's a reflection of black culture. They'll be all like, you know what? Out of all the black people who ever done anything positive and productive, we're going to find this needle in the haystack of a black person who is not productive to the community, and we'll promote that person as the reflection of black culture. Okay, so if it's a man, the reflection of black culture has to be somebody like King Von. Even though he's been dead for like 5 years, still doesn't matter. That's the reflection. So we'll have King Von be the reflection of black men. And then we'll have like Sexy Red. Sexy Red can be the reflection of black women. That's how we'll do it. We'll find the small little needle in this big ass haystack, but we'll find it to make Sexy Red and King Von the reflection of black people. And then we'll say that the only black community is Chicago. And then we'll say that all black people pretty much are from Chicago, and Chicago's crime is a reflection of black criminality. Perfect. What's her name? Mama Dearest? Is that the name of the woman who would be chopping the people up? What would be her name? I mean, it's terrible what they do. It's terrible what they do. And they make movies out of them. Do you know with Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey Dahmer. I seen Jeffrey Epstein. I meant Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer. Do you know what Dahmer? Do you know that with this latest Netflix special, they came out with like 3 years ago? I think they came out with that in like 2021 or 2. They came out with a Netflix special of Jeffrey Dahmer. Do you know that the special caused Jeffrey Dahmer's father to receive fan mail? His dad. He said that he received women who would throw, white women who would throw their panties on his front yard. Okay? Because they were such big fans. Like he's a celebrity. Because they were such big fans. He even said this. This isn't something we making up. He said himself that he would have panties thrown on his front yard anytime they did some type of special about his son eating black folk. That's what he said. And I did a live stream about it when he said that. He would get fan mail. His son would get fan mail. People loved his son. And he used to brag about it. Okay? He used to brag about it. And that's why an FBA brother had to handle the situation. And that's what we're going to say, because we don't condone vigilantes. We're just going to have to say that Jeffrey Dahmer was clearly a menace to society. And you had an FBA brother who was in prison, and he had to eliminate the menace to society. So, you know, shout out to him for that. But all of the specials and all of that stuff, none of those things condone all of those things condone violence, have violence in them, promote violence, justify violence, glorify violence, and other criminalistic behavior. Because it's not just violence, it's also violence, cannibalism, sexual assault. But none of that stuff is a reflection of black culture or white culture. But when it's black people, you'll have them, they're out here, they're saying that all this stuff is a reflection of black culture. All of it. Right? And this is why Nick Fuentes doesn't want to live in a black neighborhood.
But it's predominantly just...
I mean, of
and
course.
they're killing
of
each
course.
other over the most trivial things. It's just... It's shocking.
Yeah, the reason why black people have something against your message that you showed is because they don't believe that black people are dangerous any more than white people. They actually think you are being racist by making those accusations that don't exist, but they're 100% factually true. That's why what you said does not bother me at all.
Yeah.
I know it's true.
Okay. Y'all in the chat room bringing up so many names. We would literally be here the entire night. Do you understand that? Do you understand that we would be here the whole night if I could just name all of the people, all of the damn notorious killers and stuff like that. We not even getting into the school shooters and all of that and that stuff. We're not even getting into that lane. We're just talking about the serial killer lane. Okay, then we can talk about the corrupt politician lane. We would literally be here for several hours talking about all that stuff. And we all know it. We would be here all night and then into the early morning talking about that stuff. Then we would still have names we could list. But none of that stuff do they say is a reflection of their culture whatsoever. According to them, their culture is greatness, and their culture is peace and love and all of that stuff. But you know it's a reflection of their culture. You know it is, because according to Nick, all great white people are white supremacists.
Yeah, every great white person ever was a white supremacist. Newsflash. Every great man of history. You think Julius Caesar wasn't a white supremacist? Do you think that George Washington wasn't a white supremacist? Do you think that the masters of the Renaissance, do you think they weren't white supremacists? And people say, well, they were Enlightenment liberals. You think they envisioned living in harmony and equality with these other people? I don't think so. And I'm not saying I'm a white supremacist, but I don't care if they call me one.
This is how they view greatness. So of course they're not going to say it because they want to keep this double standard. But this is how they view greatness. And of course you're going to have yourself Massa loving, deprecating half-breed mulatto Negroes out here. Ho, 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 that's so funny. That's so funny. That's so funny. Just laughing. Just giggling and laughing like a bunch of little schoolgirls about that. We get to some of the super chats. Okay. Shout out to Josh. Josh says, how come whiteness never talk about mass shootings that they do? Of course. Now, when they do talk about it, but it's the guns problem. It's not the kids problem. It's the gun. Why does AK-47 even exist? Let's not talk about the culture. It's not a culture issue. It's the guns problem. If M16 didn't exist, there wouldn't have been a school shooting. That's clearly not their fault, right? The M16 made them do it. That's their excuse. That's where they go with that. All right. And then he continues to say, or how white men are the most PDF. Y'all know what that stands for. I guess they forgot. Of course. You look at the crime statistics because they love statistics, except when it makes them look bad. Okay. Josh then continues to say, the PC yard in prison is filled with nothing but white PDF. They are. Oh yeah. Okay. They definitely are. Nothing but them. Prison is riddled with them. But that's not a reflection, according to them, of their culture, of a cultural issue. It's not a reflection of that. Okay. It doesn't represent that, doesn't mean that. Shout out to FBA Justice for sending a super chat saying they are entire networks dedicated to whiter on white crime. Yeah, that's true. And people like Nick Fool and the Twin Hodge Coons ignore that. That's very true. That's accurate. That's true. Oh, anyways, happy 29th chapter. AE, be blessed. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate, shout out to everybody for the birthday wishes. I appreciate every single last one of you all. Thank you all so very much. I tremendously do. I haven't even been able to really give the thank yous that I want to give. I'm still giving out thank yous. So I appreciate every single last one of you all for the love. Thank you all so very much. All right. But all of this stuff, yes, it is a reflection of their culture. If y'all want to say the first 48 is a reflection of our culture, y'all want to say that is a reflection of our culture, y'all cannot say that to Catch a Predator is not a reflection of your culture. Okay. Notice how they'll praise the George Washingtons and the Julius Caesars and all of that stuff. People did terrible, horrible things to other people. But let's say Chris Hansen, right? The dude who catches the people on To Catch a Predator, they don't even like Chris Hansen. They don't speak about Chris Hansen like, yeah, Chris Hansen, he's really catching those criminals. No, they don't even like Chris Hansen like that. And I'm not saying that I don't even know Chris Hansen to the degree where I know he's a good person or a bad person. I know that he was the host or the cop on To Catch the Predator, and they don't promote that. They don't do that because the people he were catching were of their community. Now, if he was catching a whole bunch of, he was a predator. I've heard negative things. I don't know him to a degree to where I can condone him or not, so I'm not doing that. But notice the people who are on To Catch the Predator and all that stuff, they don't promote that. They don't even bring up Chris Hansen. They don't even bring up To Catch the Predator because that makes their community look bad. They don't bring up John Brown, somebody who was a slave abolitionist who helped slaves get freed and all of that stuff. They claim that they love the Union, but somebody who actually did that, even though he did it in not a very intelligent way, he wound up getting caught himself. They don't promote that. They don't actually promote people who have actually done good things, white people who've done good things. Because, like Nick Fuentes said, to them, greatness is white supremacy. And you are not a great man unless you are a white supremacist. Because that is what greatness is. That is what they say. Shout out to my brother Hurricane. He says, Also, congratulations on 20,000 subs. For that to happen on your birthday has to be a great gift. It was, man. Let's keep working. It was a great gift. First, and I wanted to say this, shout out to every single last one of you all, because the channel reached 20,000 subscribers on my birthday. We was close, and I was hoping it was gonna get there then. We was real close. And I'm all like, oh, it's gonna come right after. I was thinking it might come right after. But the video I did on my birthday, I did yesterday, that one a lot of people loved, and that one gained a lot of new subscribers too. So that really pushed us over the edge. So we got over 20,000 subscribers on my birthday. That was a great gift. I didn't even notice it till like the end of the day, to be honest. Until about the end of the day, I didn't even really notice that. I was all like, man, if that was not a great way to end the day, I don't know what is. I really don't. I just don't. And thank every single last one of you guys. Can we put a fireball emoji in the chat room? Actually, no. Let's put the confetti. I was about to say the Confederate. Let's put the confetti emoji, like the celebration emoji, in the chat room. I appreciate you guys. I really do. Because that is a great accomplishment, and it proves that this channel that speaks truth to power, even though it goes against the popular narrative, even though it goes against the media a lot of times, even though it goes against some people with bigger channels, even though it goes against what the YouTube algorithm wants to put out on this platform, the fact that we're speaking truth to power in such an intense and consistent way, and we're growing to 20,000 people have subscribed, not just watch, but subscribe, because we got millions of views, but 20,000 people have subscribed. Y'all the realest, to be very honest with you. You guys are. And I'm grateful for every single last one of you all. Shout out to Pamela for the Cash App. I appreciate you, Pamela. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Yes, thank you guys. Thank you guys. I mean, isn't that just a beautiful image right there? That is just a gorgeous image. That is a gorgeous image right there. That's absolutely gorgeous. I appreciate every single last one of y'all. I really do. And we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going because we're going to be closer now to 21,000, 22,000, 23,000. We're going to notice that every time we reach a big goal, and I've been ever since 10,000, I said something when I reached 10,000 and then 12,000, and I kind of stopped. And every time we reach something, this is the first time, like, I think since we reached like 12,000, I've even gave a subscriber shout out. I've even mentioned our subscriber growth, but 20,000 is a big number. It's a huge number. Okay. Because it shows the impact and it shows the momentum of what we're doing, because we don't have big millions of dollars worth of corporation sponsors backing this channel and promoting me and all of that stuff. You don't have the YouTube algorithm that goes along with what we're saying. We don't have anything but each other. And together we have raised over 20,000 subscribers together. This is an accomplishment for everybody. So thank you all for that. I tremendously appreciate you guys so very much. I can't even put it into words. Can't. And let me tell you something. I want to say this personally. I think that this number right here, 20,000, I think that this number and what we've done and what we continue to do, I think that this is a reflection of Black culture. If they want to talk about Black culture as the first 48 or whatever the case is, right here, us speaking truth to panel, this channel is one of the reflections of Black culture. The fact that this channel is always educating and empowering and keeping you guys aware of all of the deceptive narratives and of the dominant society, that is a reflection of Black culture. I'm a reflection of Black culture, and you guys are a reflection of Black culture. Together, we are all a reflection of the beauty and the glory of Black culture. Together, we are. Yes, indeed. Together, we are. Now, with that being said, family, I think that's the perfect way to close this. Personally, I think that's a perfect way to close this. I want you guys to enjoy your weekend. A lot of people are saying nowadays they're not really getting notifications. If you're not, you guys can follow me on Instagram, and you guys can follow me on Twitter. The link is in the description below. So that way you guys, if you guys are not getting reliable notifications from YouTube, that's fine, because you guys can follow on other social media platforms. You guys can get the notifications there. Also, I would appreciate if every single last one of you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Okay, so that way you trying to double check and make sure you get all the notifications you can. All right, it's very important. Now, I think we had a pretty good broadcast this evening, brothers and sisters, talking about these Massa lovers out here and just the self-deprecation. It's sad, it's pathetic, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But I want us to understand that them deprecating themselves and trying to talk down on themselves and Black culture, that doesn't mean anything, because we together, we are a reflection of Black culture. And we're going to overshadow and outshine the Massa lovers who are always trying to talk down about Black culture to uplift the low self-esteem of their Massa. Their Massa with low self-esteem, they're trying to raise that self-esteem so they can get white approval and access and success. It's sad. It's pathetic. But that's why we do what we do. And with that being said, Black first. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for watching. Be one to every single last one of you all. Thank you all. You all stay blessed.